In 18 days, the Cowboys help christen SoFi Stadium. There will be no fans present, but the Cowboys and the Rams will be playing there. One of the lingering questions, and now look, for anyone out there who is going to complain that we're bringing politics into sport, we're not out there looking for some angle we can wedge into what otherwise is newsy. When you have one of the premier teams in the National Football League in the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, when that team has consistently gone against what the league has said, what the league rules are regarding the national anthem. The league rule is that the players can kneel, they can peacefully protest if they want to. The Cowboys have always kept their players from doing it, usually by force of will, the will of Jerry Jones. So the last we heard from Jones after an extended silence was this confusing monologue when he had video conference with reporters
monologue.
Saying grace,
right.
grace.
We're going to do it with grace. Right.
And we don't know what that means. Well, we got a little more insight yesterday. Now that Jerry Jones is back to doing twice per week on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, yesterday he was asked specifically about his plans for the anthem policy. Here we go.
I thought you did a nice compromise when this first came up in Arizona, and you guys kneeled before the anthem, and then you stood for the anthem. Am I reading between the lines correctly in thinking that you're trying to come up with a similar compromise instead of saying, yes, everyone can kneel if they want, or the other side? You're trying to come up with a little balance there like you did against the Cardinals?
Yes, you are. That's fair. And that, at the end of the day, was a recognition that we support our players. I knelt with our players, as you know, on a personal basis, but as a team, we all knelt together before the anthem, and then we stood for the anthem to recognize what its symbol is to America. And I thought that was good, and that's the kind of thing that we'll be looking to see if we can implement.
I got two observations.
Yeah.
The first one is kind of peel back the curtain. What does my spider sense tell me from a media standpoint? And I love the guys on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. I'm on there from time to time with Sean and RJ. The way that question was set up.
Yes.
That question, I believe, someone from the Cowboys told them to ask it that way. That's just my instinct from 20 years of doing this and being on radio and dealing with hosts. Not that I tell anybody ahead of time, hey, make sure you ask the question this way. But I understand and I believe that at times that happens. And just the way it came out, setting it up, because the guy was throwing a dart that just so happened to hit the bullseye. And the bullseye is they're looking to have a compromise where any kneeling happens before the song is played. And then when the song is played, everyone is standing at attention, toes on the line, the way Jerry Jones has always wanted it to be, Chris.
Is that the way you read that, though? The compromise in that's what he's trying to say, is that he wants something like that?
Yes.
You don't think he's
absolutely
trying to look for a new compromise? I mean, something else that's different this time around? I mean, that's kind of what – maybe you're right, Mike. I'm not trying to say no. I just didn't take it like that totally is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're looking for something that will result in everyone standing for the anthem. And, we went through this a few years ago where teams were – trying different things to give their players an opportunity to use the limited platform before a game starts to express themselves. And part of the reality is there aren't many opportunities, short of doing it on the field during the game, which I don't think anybody wants, for someone to express themselves. And to the extent, and this goes back to the Arian Foster comments that really crystallized the issue for me. We played those earlier this year. He was on Pardon My Take when the George Floyd, murder had happened. Arian Foster was on, and he explained that the anthem, the flag, means different things for different Americans, and it's all based upon their own individual experiences in this country.
Right.
And for some, it evokes a sense of pride and sentimentality and patriotism that compels us to stand. I stand. My grandparents came to this country in search of a better life for themselves, their children, their grandchildren, and so on, and it's worked. So that's what it does for me. But I can understand that there would be some people that see the flag and they think of their experience, their family's experience.
Right.
The experience of their ancestors, of their people who
a lot of struggles.
necessarily brought over voluntarily.
Right.
Didn't get to choose to come.
Yep.
And it's a different perspective. So that's the moment. That's the moment for that to manifest itself. And Jerry Jones successfully was able in 2016 and 2017 to steer it away. And even last year, remember when Robert Quinn became a Cowboy? Robert Quinn was one of the few that was putting a hand in the air, putting a fist in the sky during the anthem, and they steered him away from that. And I feel like, and this is the same mentality, Chris, that we see operate when it's time to get a contract done. Jerry Jones throws his arm around you, has that heart-to-heart, man-to-man talk, and he convinces you to see it his way.
Right.
And I feel like after years and years and years of having that ability, that skill set, that charisma work for him, he's going to try it one more time. And he's going to try to pull it off and get his guys to choose to stand for the anthem by coming up with some other way, whether it's everyone takes a knee before, whether it's something, whatever it is, something other than kneeling for the anthem, even though the league, we just had the commissioner come out and say he fully supports if players choose to protest during the anthem. Well, it's obvious Jerry Jones doesn't want them to do that, period, and he's trying to come up with something else.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's like the best look that the league and the teams aren't on the same page there. I'll just say that right off the bat. And I think the second thing is with Jerry Jones and hey, listen, this is a tricky situation. This isn't 2016. The climate has changed. The world is different right now. I mean, I think there's a lot more compassion about the social injustice matter than there was then. Now, I know there's still a lot of people that they don't want to hear it. You don't kneel for the anthem and, you don't disrespect the country. I understand that to a degree, but yeah, I would echo the same sentiments that you did, Mike, that the country doesn't stand for, the same to everybody. It's different that way. And now you have the recent events of what happened in Wisconsin, and I just think there's more passion within the players right now to where I don't know if Jerry Jones is going to be able to pull this one off to where he's going to be able to tell his guys, all right, let's kneel before the anthem or something like that. Listen, he talked about grace. You talk about grace. Well, grace, compromise. Maybe maybe he's the guy to do it. Maybe you should be the guy to lead us through this, Jerry, and find a way to where you can please both sides. Maybe one set of your team is standing up and saluting the flag. The other set is kneeling down with, Army veterans and other people that are in service, and they're holding their hand to show like, hey, it's okay. Maybe this is how you bring America together, something like that. I hope it's something like that because I don't think it's right if he squashes players' First Amendment rights in a time right now where, things are dicey. And it's not, all, bed of roses for African Americans or black people or people of color in our country. And I just have a hard time thinking he's going to be able to thread this needle here with this one.
And you're onto something, I think, with this disconnect between the league and the teams, because the league is the teams. And it's not enough, in my view, for the commissioner to say one thing and then the teams to do whatever the hell they want, especially if Jerry Jones is operating from the mindset of he wants to placate the people who refuse to separate kneeling during the anthem from disrespect of flag, military, and country. Because the commissioner earlier this week put that issue to bed for the entire league. If he's truly the commissioner, if he's truly in charge of the league, if it's his name on the football and not Jerry Jones's name on the football, once the commissioner tells Emmanuel Acho it's not about the flag, the message here, what our players are doing, is being mischaracterized. These are not people who are unpatriotic. They're not disloyal. They're not against our military. In fact, many of those guys were in the military, and they are military family.
Yeah.
What they were trying to do is exercise their right to bring attention to something that needs to get fixed. What they were trying to do is exercise their right to bring attention to something that needs to be fixed. And that misrepresentation of who they were and what they were doing was the thing that really gnawed at me. That is Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
From just a couple of days ago with Emmanuel Acho. How can any owner suggest any path that would undermine that message and cave to the people who refuse to accept the way that Roger Goodell has characterized it? That to me is the core of the problem. And that's why I think what needs to happen is The commissioner needs to call Jerry Jones and say, stop it. Stop it. Don't try to reach a compromise. Don't try to negotiate directly with your players on this. Don't try to talk them out of it. Don Terry Poe said he's going to kneel. Let him kneel. Anybody else wants to kneel? Let him kneel. It's not enough to just fold your arms and grit your teeth and bite your tongue and give them a dirty look while they're doing the thing that they have a right to do. If you truly support them, you say whatever you want to do is fine. We support you. That's the attitude that needs to come from every team. Otherwise, it's a horribly mixed message that every member of the Cowboys roster is probably trying to figure out what the hell the rule really is.
Yeah, well, yes, you're right. It's actually shocking, the fact that the NFL usually shows such great uniformity, like with these type of subjects. And for this one, it seems like it's kind of on the team to do whatever they want. And, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. You're right. This is a league-wide matter. This is affecting our league. It's affecting our players personally, and then, of course, in their communities, too, and where they grew up and everything like that. So there's got to be a sensitive spot there. Jerry Jones, I know we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago when we finally heard from him, right? People were starting to think like, oh, is he insensitive? Maybe he's insensitive to the social justice issues and things like that. No, he's not. I don't believe he is. He knows what's going on, and I think he really cares for people and black people and African-American players. I mean, he's amazing that way. We talked about that, how he has so many guys around him that he takes care of through the years that were played for him 15, 20 years ago, whatever it may be. So he's amazing that way. And we know he's American, and he wears the flag, right next to his heart, and he's all about it, and I get it, and he's kind of the American dream. But, hey, Jerry, be the American maybe that shows the Americans that you're talking about, Mike, that believe the kneeling is just disrespectful to the anthem and not about the social injustice and that it's something bigger than that. Jerry, show those Americans the way, that this is okay, that those guys that are kneeling down, they are great Americans too. They're great Americans. And like you said, a lot of them come from houses of military or things like that, so this is not insensitive. They do things for the military services in their free time for charity and all of that. So they love and respect the military. But there's an issue here. And to me, that's where I would call on Jerry Jones, because the spotlight's on him right now with Dallas Cowboys being the America's team, few guys speaking out. We've heard Don Terry Poe, Gerald McCoy, all these kind of things where everybody's going to want to see how he reacts. And right now, he's kind of like that shining beacon for the NFL. All right, what's he going to do? Because this is going to be the loudest message sent on week one, and I just hope he takes the right approach here.
Yeah, on Sunday Night Football on NBC, when the Rams and the Cowboys get together at the Rams' new stadium, where no fans will be to react to whatever it is that happens on the field. And I know that Jerry Jones is a master salesman of his brand, of his team, and his attitude has always been any publicity is good publicity as long as they get your name right. I hope that he isn't using this as a way to attract attention to the Cowboys, because this isn't the kind of attention you want.
No.
The NFL doesn't want or need one of its teams, one of its flagship teams, to be the center of this controversy of will they or won't they be allowed to kneel during the anthem? Will Jerry Jones do what the commissioner wants him to do? I mean, it's very interesting from the perspective of an observer, but it's not the kind of thing the NFL should want. They should want to nip this in the bud. We shouldn't be talking about it. I'm going to talk about whatever the top story of the day is in this first segment. And because it's the Cowboys, because it's this unresolved issue that from the league's perspective is resolved, Chris, it's supposed to be resolved. And for the Cowboys, it's not. It's like the league says, here's the official football. And the Cowboys are saying, well, maybe we'll use that ball. Maybe we'll bring our own ball. Maybe we want to use the college ball. Maybe, but, we'll see. That's not helpful for anybody, especially at a time that, as you've mentioned, it's different. We see teams, we see players who are empowered and emboldened to speak out. They canceled practice yesterday for the Detroit Lions, and I thought when I first saw they canceled practice, there's some sort of an outbreak of the coronavirus. No, the players did not want to practice, did not want to focus on football, wanted to focus on social justice because of what happened to Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin on Sunday night. period. No practice for the Lions yesterday. They came out and met with the media together. They had banners. They had messages. They are sending that signal. They are using that platform. And instead of waiting until the National Anthem before their Week 1 game, they decided to press pause on their preparations for the season, to take a day and shut it down, to make sure people understand what they're concerned about and that change needs to finally come. That every time we think change is coming, we see another one of these videos that makes us think that the message is lost on the people who are carrying around lethal force in the palms of their hands. You mentioned Dontari Poe, Chris.
Yeah.
And Dontari Poe does plan to kneel, and he has said he wants to talk about it directly to Jerry Jones. Jerry responded. Here's what he had to say.
I just wanted, like I said, just get in there and talk to him. I asked a couple players, how is he? And now Love has pretty much told me the same thing. Like, yeah, he's willing to talk. He's always ready. He's not too busy. So that was encouraging from that aspect. But like I said, it's still words to be had between us two, so we will do that.
The time that we have the first game, I will have visited with him more than likely on an individual basis. All of that have come to play, and we'll have a plan that recognizes what he's trying to do and the way he's trying to do it. And everybody's going to be sensitive to, on the other hand, be sensitive to what it is we're about. We're out there to ask the fans to follow, be attentive to us, and we're well aware of the issue and well aware of where Dallas Cowboys fans are on it. All of that will be put in the hopper, and we'll see how we handle it.
Again, that just underscores the point, Chris, that it's now an issue. It's now something we're going to be paying attention to. And it shouldn't be this way. It should be the commissioner on the phone with Jerry Jones ASAP. It should have happened yesterday. It should have happened as soon as the words came out. And we don't know. They're not going to announce it. Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell aren't going to issue a joint statement saying that Roger Goodell called him up and said, stop it. But Roger Goodell needs to call him up and say, stop it. And I understand it's a delicate balance. Even though the commissioner is in charge of the entire sport, there's a group of owners that are in charge of him.
Right.
And on some occasions, he's got to stand up to them. And that's really the question here. And this gets to the heart of the uncomfortable conversation that he had with Emmanuel Acho on Emmanuel's excellent digital series. And also the questions raised by Jim Trotter of NFL Network, an employee of Roger Goodell, who said maybe it wasn't uncomfortable enough. This is the uncomfortable thing that Roger Goodell needs to face now. Is he willing to stand up to a powerful owner and say, stop it? Your players are permitted to do whatever they want, and you will support them, and you will go on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas on Friday, usual spot, Tuesday and Friday, and say, I've thought about it, I've talked to the league about it, and you know what? I'm reversing course. Whatever the players want to do is fine with me, and stick to that, not just make it lip service. I don't think that's going to happen,
yeah,
Chris,
I was gonna say.
but that's what needs to happen now.
Yeah, I mean, you would like to think that, but I don't think anybody's going to call Jerry Jones and tell him what to do with the Dallas Cowboys. I just think at the
Well, then he's the commissioner.
Yeah.
Then he's the commissioner.
Well,
right?
mean,
period. He's they say all the time. I remember when I was in school and we were talking about the existence of God, and like whoever put this in motion is God. Well, what if there's somebody who put him in motion? Then that's God. But what if something put that in motion? Then that's God. You keep going until you get to the one that starts it. If Roger Goodell can't call Jerry Jones and say stop it, then Jerry Jones is the commissioner.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I don't deny that to a degree. I mean, I think there's a lot of people around the NFL for a long time that thought really the de facto commissioners were Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft. I mean, basically, I don't know if that stands true anymore with, them getting up there in age and, of course, his sons are taking over more of a role with the team and all of that. But, he's definitely, with this conversation, going to make guys uncomfortable in his locker room because they're going to feel like they're being boxed into a corner here, right? And this is just a time right now where, again, things have flamed up again because of Wisconsin, and you're going to see more and more passion. And there's going to be more and more conversations going on in NFL locker rooms. And guys are going to be talking about what are we going to do week 1. So if Jerry Jones doesn't want guys to kneel and do something like that, he's going to have to come to, if I'm a player in that locker room, he's going to have to come with some hell of a compromise to make us feel like, okay, yeah, we can't do this. And we're doing this not because we're disrespecting the country. We're doing this because here we are 4 years later, and we're still seeing tons of unarmed black African-American men get shot and killed. I mean, why we couldn't shoot the tires out of the car or use a taser, I don't know. 7 bullets in a guy's back? It just seems a little weird to me. A little. So, this is a sensitive subject. And this hits home for our African-American players in the NFL. They're from a lot of these communities where they've seen this crap happen for a long time. So he's thin ice here with this one, and he better come up with some good compromise, or I think he's going to have a lot of players, giving him the side eye and not looking at him the same way that maybe they used to before all this went down.
Yeah, look, I think it's something that needs to be addressed immediately by the league, by the Cowboys. It sends a horribly mixed message at a time when there should be nothing other than a unanimous, consistent position by the NFL. And that doesn't mean everybody kneels for the anthem. We're not saying that. Everyone should be allowed to make their choice. And support means you're truly allowed to make your choice, not, well, if you really have to do it or anything passive-aggressive like that. And no efforts behind the scenes to persuade someone to make a different choice. Let them make the choice that they believe is right for them. Each individual player, coach, staff member, everyone who's on the sideline for that anthem. And that's what it needs to be. It needs to be unconditional, unequivocal support. It cannot be any type of effort to persuade them otherwise. And it's like there's 2 different languages being spoken by the league office and by Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
And there's no other owner
else
that's doing this.
Right.
No one else, which makes it even more glaring, Chris.
Yeah, no, I think that's the big thing, is that he's really the only guy. I think all owners are, okay, hey, this is an issue in our country. And, our players have every right to be upset about it, and they're going to let the players express themselves. But Jerry Jones, that does not seem to be the case. And, our eyes are on him now to see what he does and how he handles this situation.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.